if we need to, but I don't think we're going to need to. Let's see here. Avoid any legal snags and tell everyone I'm recording you. So I'm recording you.
Behave yourself, Samantha.
There's no need. I hope none of us behave ourselves today. Oh my gosh.
For an enlightening time.
I feel like I'm the only one who has like the most boring background.
What? You think my washing machine is exciting?
Mine? Just a wall.
All right, Vanessa, you win with the fancy bookcase background, unless it's fake. It's got green screen.
This is real. No, it's all good.
I'm quite liking the stairs at Dawn's there. I wonder where they're going.
Oh,
they're just gone.
I got rid of my washing machine.
This is so amazing. Just think about the energy, and we're all over the world right here today, right now, in this moment, sharing space, sharing energy, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I can't thank you all enough for doing this with me. This is the first time, so we're going to just see how it goes. And the plan is to do a video podcast and then to also do an audio podcast. Now, my skills with taking video to audio are so that's my learning curve for this time. So I didn't really have an agenda because I really want to keep the heartbeat something that just is a space for people to share what's in their hearts, what's in their, coming up for them right now. I feel like Dawn is frozen. Her picture is frozen. Do you guys see that? She's like,
it's frozen in a nice shot though.
I know.
You did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
In a model shot.
Oh, well, that's a great picture if we don't get your video back going. But I think there's probably just some connectivities going on. But it is a lovely picture. I can't stop looking at it. So I would love for each one of you to introduce yourself and say a little bit about you. And then we'll just kind of have a conversation. And we are all here because we've all really actually been connected through Kenny. So Kenny, thank you very much for connecting us all. I think it's a beautiful thing you've got going on. So since we can't see Dawn, let's just have Dawn tell us about herself.
Well, I'm Dawn, and other than drinking lots of tea, I coach leading ladies to write their book and transform their life and their business, and I'm sailing around the world writing books and promoting my existing ones.
Wow. That's awesome. What's your existing book?
Which one?
All of them.
I'm writing a series of 9 called the Sacral series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing my next trilogy, which is taking into consideration my business mentoring, cultural diversity, and a little bit of naughtiness. Then the other series, the main one that I'm doing with this book tour, Circumnavigation, is called The Mermaid's Guide, which will include a book on leadership, environment, female traveling and empowerment, health and fitness, and food while you're traveling around the world.
There you are again. Now I can see your beautiful face. Oh, she's frozen again. Oh, no, there she is. Thank you so much. That's a lot. That's amazing. I want to talk about more of that once we get through all the introductions. Kenny, how about you?
Well, I think it's going to be quite difficult to match Dawn. 9 plus books on the go. Oh my God. Well, it's a hello from Scotland. I'm Kenny Ball, creative director at One Tribe magazine. We are now celebrating 2 years coming up, issue 24 in production, and we'll be out on the 18th of this month. And keeping me rather busy. So that's about it from myself.
Oh, awesome. Kenny, you do so much more than that. You also help people create amazing, beautiful web pages. And I want to dive into that too, because like I said, we are all connected through you and through you finding each one of us individually. And now here we are as a collective. So that is amazing. And Vanessa, how about you?
Hi, yeah, I'm in the UK also. My name is Vanessa Louise Birt, and I'm an emotional transformational mentor and speaker. Fundamentally, my belief is we're here to teach what we need the most. So I've been my own best client over the many years. I just very much believe I want to help people feel better about themselves. And I've known that since I was about 13. I started off on the outside of the woman, and then my own adversity and transformation led me to the inside. No, we all know it's an inside job. And I'm really grateful for tribes like this. Thanks to Kenny, I've been writing for his One Tribe magazine for 2 years since the beginning. And he was an answer to a prayer, ironically enough. Who out there would want me to write about my subject? And he contacted me while I was on holiday. So I've been working for him ever since. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, maybe we could go and sort of talk about how we've each that connection with Kenny and maybe our experience, because I think that's really powerful. So, Samantha, what about you?
Well, I'm Samantha Caroline Lavallée from Canada. I just actually moved to Newfoundland. I was in Quebec. And I would have to say my biggest job of all is being a mama to 3 children. That is a life lesson, never ending in of itself. So I'm also an author and a mentor. And I would have to say I'm still in a creative musing part. Since the book came out, it took on a life of its own, which actually I was told that it would. And so it's kind of honoring that breath as I'm moving forward with that. So I'm getting ready to create the Beautiful Disaster TV series, which you will all be invited as guests to talk on different topics.
That's exciting.
And I also it's going to be launched on Sunday. It's with I'm the co-host with the host Deanna Butcher. It's the D word, so it's real stories, real time, real healing. So this is really raw and gritty, and this is what I love about again coming back to Kenny, who brought us all together in this space, because through what I found was within this tribe, meeting each of you guys, is I found home. I love like Vanessa always says naked, right? Which is something that I adore, because I'm all about the raw, the grit, and Dawn is so all about realness.
I don't think there are any words for them, are there?
There is no one word. And Christine, you bring so much heart, really, and realness. And, inviting us on when we done the interview for the Beautiful Disaster book together. And then here we are today, on this call. It's like the power of co-creating, the power of sharing our stories, the power of empowering and transforming and really coming together in a way that, again, that's real, that creates real solutions. And I oftentimes, through reading each of our work with the magazine and the different things that we do is that, yes, comes back to being human is not a problem to solve. It is an opportunity to evolve. And I think that we're each sharing each other's unique gift, which is a diversity, which, again, one of my favorite words that I love.
Yes.
I'm a home in the One Tribe community. That's just...
Yes, absolutely.
My peeps.
Your peeps, we're all together, our peeps. Yeah, I agree with you. And I am a well-being and empowerment coach, and it took me a long time to sort of figure out what that title was going to be, because I, like you, Vanessa, knew from a very young age that I was going to be in public service. Like that was my calling. Like I wanted to help people. And I'm not going to get into my story, but I remember Kenny messaging me, I think it was on Facebook, and he said, "Hey, I would love it if you would write for my magazine." And my first thought was, no, you don't want this dyslexic girl writing for your magazine like that. I'm not a writer. I'm a coach. Come on. What do you mean? I'm not a writer. And he encouraged me. He's like, no, I think your content is really good. I think you could have value added for a lot of people. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to do this. It was really freaking scary. And I wrote it and I submitted it. And then I was like, now what? Now what do I do? Do you just like wait? I'm like, I don't know how this works, right? And so yeah. And so like I remember it was a Saturday and I was having like, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I don't know if this coaching, like having that self-doubt that we all have. Mm-hmm. And here pops this message and it's like, you've been tagged in a post for One Tribe magazine. And I was like, what is this? Oh my gosh. And I'm flipping through, you know, it's electronic, so as fast as you could flip through. And there I was, like right in the middle on my paddleboard, and I started sobbing and dancing and screaming and hollering, and I don't even know what was going on. So Kenny, I don't know if you know that story, but I may have shared that with you before, but I was on cloud 9 and I have written ever since then, except for the last 2 months. And I needed a kind of a break, and I wasn't finding, I've told myself I would write when I felt compelled to write, and I just wasn't feeling compelled to write, and now I'm back and it's probably going to be like inundated. So thank you for letting me share that piece of my story. I would love to hear what you guys have too. That would be awesome. Either one, anyone can share.
I'd quite like to know, because I hear this, and Stephanie, who deals with all my PR and marketing, she goes, Dawn, you're just strange. And I was like, why? And I was like, because like when I hear that people, I can't stop writing. And so because I'm setting sail in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be offline for 3 months, yes. I've had to come up with 84 days worth of content.
Wow.
And I've nearly done it in 3 days. So I'm like, and I just don't know how to stop. It's not the content. I have a problem stopping. And some of my friends said, we need to find you a man, Dawn. Well, I don't want a man.
Well, I'm glad that you can't stop writing. I think when we connect on our, you know, meeting to have tea, I definitely want to hear about that, because I definitely write.
Well, the man or the writing.
Just the writing, my dear. Just the writing. We can talk about men too. That's fine. I feel like sometimes my content is redundant because it's what I need to hear, and that goes along with sort of what Vanessa was talking about. You know, you write or you put out there what you need yourself the most. And so I found like some of the stuff I was writing was like, okay, I've already said that 50,000 freaking times. Why can't I get that through my head? So that's why I was like, I need to just have a little break for myself.
But don't you find it interesting that when you think about the premise of what One Tribe magazine is about and what Kenny ultimately is his why, is helping people find their happy. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can say it enough, and you could repeat yourself enough that anybody would ever really get it. And I reminded myself last week of a conversation I had with a colleague that I was forever trying to reinvent the wheel, a little bit like you, Christine. It's just like, but I've already said that. That's been my message last month. You know, what does it have to be this month? What is it? Mm-hmm. And when I think about stuff I've been following, and when I really started studying self-development, you don't just hear it once. And equally, right, if you do, the next time you hear a similar thing, you're in a very different place when you hear it. So it's like hearing it for the first time. I get tingles as I say that. And anything that we teach is not new. It's just a unique presentation of it, because I will be sharing my version of happy, or the topics that I do will be very similar to the whole magazine. But it's coming from a very perspective, and a diamond has many facets, right? So you just have to keep shining and keep showing up, and just trust that the words that flow through you, which clearly Dawn doesn't have a problem with, the words that flow through you are relevant for that time and space. And then when Kenny publishes it, the right person at the right time will read it or not. And if they don't read it next year, that will be the right time that they need to read it, or they need to hear it umpteen times. I need to hear things many times and experience it myself before I get it. So I think it's, I've learned that people said to me, you write like you chat. So I'm not a writer. I like you, Christine, I'm dyslexic. I didn't really read and write until I was in my late teens, early 20s. So it's very new for me, but I absolutely love it now. I would do it all day, every day if I possibly could. And so I just trust now that I'll just show up writing what is relevant for me. And I've never had Kenny turn around and say, I'm not going to publish that this month.
Right.
I think, I think what you're saying is right there. You've just got to be authentic to yourself. I not actually write for an audience. You're writing for yourself from the heart, and that's what will engage with people going forward.
Very nice.
As I say, if it helps one person in a month or on that second month, they might revisit it and read it and all that. No, it could be something that's affecting their life at that given time. And they're not alone. They're there. There's other people going through a similar experience, and I think that's what's great about it.
And also, if your magazine is all about the same sort of message, but just different angles, the person reading is going to be right. Okay, so it must be true, or it's got to be what I need to know about. Whereas if we were all writing very, very different things, that would have I don't believe it would have the resonance it does, and I think that's why it is so popular with so many.
Yeah, it's different perspectives on life, but again, all coming from a same sort of energy that we're all sharing. Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
I'm looking forward to rereading all of them again while I cross the Atlantic. It's just going to be, I'm going to feel that I'm so connected to you all and to the rest of the tribe that, So even though I won't be getting the new updates for another couple of months, I know that I've still got, and this is one of the things I love about it, the fact that it is in electronic format, so that as I am traveling around the world, I don't have to carry all these magazines because I carry enough books. But I'm really looking forward to really diving deeper into them and journaling with each one, because one of the things I don't know about you guys, but I find that when I read one of the articles, if I keep my notebook and my journal and a pen with me, I make notes on them and then I revisit, and what questions are you bringing up, so I can then go and explore those. I find it such a useful journaling tool. Each and every single article, like, how does that resonate with me? Has that triggered me in some way? What has that brought up for me? Can I explore that? So I'm really looking forward to using that as I evolve to the next level and the next level as I prepare to land in Chile.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about, I'm listening to Christine and you, Dawn, and you, Vanessa, and about the different styles that you guys write. And when Kenny approached me, I was thinking, I don't know if I'm made to fit in a magazine, because my style is very eclectic. I make up words that don't exist. I refuse to change them. There's a freedom for me. I actually stopped writing when I was 17. I didn't pick the pen back up until 2014 was the first piece that flowed through me, which was 2 years after I started doing some real big work. And all my education was done in French. My mother tongue is English. So I don't know what's going on up here half the time, right? And I have attention deficit. So it's like a squirrel. Sometimes it's everything's everywhere. So I'm always fearful that my work would be scattered or erratic. So I try to kind of bring it in. However, it's like Kenny said, you trust the flow, you be genuine. This is how it pours out of me. And if we're having a conversation, like me and Don when we have tea time, it's everywhere. But that's who I am, and it's honoring that voice. But you said something just now too, and one thing that I do also honor is, Christine, when I'm tired, when I don't feel that inspiration, or I honor that and I stop.
Yeah.
And so since I moved here, I guess with the transition, and then with the book coming out and all these different things. And even with the book coming out, I had big struggles, really big struggles, because my mentor, and he had said, Samantha, he said, it's because you're outgrowing the self-image that you have of yourself. Oh, and I was mad with the book. And I couldn't keep thinking. And every time I would read the book, and I kept saying, this all sounds the same. It sounds like it's repetitive. And it's like I could not get into the material. It was almost as if I was grieving that I worked so hard to put out into the world. And to swallow that, I have to, because I actually to go stop and talk to myself. Will I continue? Does that way? Me too.
Uh-oh, we're losing you a little bit.
Am I back?
Yeah.
I think you're back.
Yeah, I've got you.
Yep. There you are.
We just did some kind of matrix thing going on.
So in deciding what I was going to do at Beautiful Disaster, I wouldn't take no decision right on the spot, because I knew that with my emotions running high. So Vanessa, you will be very proud of me. I said, okay, Samantha, no impulsivity, just really sit with it and see where you want to go. And the idea of, I love to write. It is, and now it's more in the poetry form, and I'm finding that it's more grittier, and it's more, and then I'm working on my other project, which is based on my story, but with the intent to create a revolution in the way that we heal. So I still have a lot of work to go for that. But what I've discovered is that through the videos creating and through the sharings and that all that we're doing here is that I have I naturally have the gift of the gab, like shamelessly so. There is no hiding that, you know. And so
Really?
I said, oh, Don, you with me on that. So I thought to myself, what if I created a TV series or shows for Beautiful Disaster to really go through the material, really make it naked, Vanessa would say. You know,
Yeah,
and
showing up.
Then, yeah, because the passage, each of you could read the passage and interpret it differently because it's where you're at, it's on your experience. And that's the beauty that I've had to learn with creating content, because sometimes I do feel like a parrot. I'm like, all I talk about in this book alone, I have like 400 pages of it. I'm like, but there is no right or wrong way in saying it. And sometimes we're so stuck in our own space because, you know, we're so focused on what we're doing that it sounds repetitive to us. One thing that I find that helps inspire me or kind of take me into that space is to actually go and read other people's material, like all of your materials, because that kind of gives me a different, okay. Because sometimes if what we're doing in this world is based on our mission to heal, based on what we've lived and overcome, obviously we still have some, you know, whether it's trauma or things that we're working through all the time, because life is spiral and that's okay. But through all of that, sometimes we can be triggered. And so by reading somebody else's material, it brings sometimes the ease or the message that we need to hear to get to the next level. So
it also puts you in a receptive mode rather than a giving mode as well.
That's it.
You know, because if we're writing, we're consciously in flow, and you know, it's like giving and giving and giving. But to read other material that then you find inspiring, it's like just like lying back in the sun, isn't it? It just bathes you bathe in other people's words, energy, wisdom, whatever it might be. So I do feel like I'm really treating myself when I read other people's material. It's a really good point, Samantha. Yeah.
I think what you guys are saying is absolutely true. We don't have all the answers, and we're willing to learn and willing to absorb other people's interpretations of things. Unlike you know, some of the larger gurus out there who have all the answers in the market material. We shall not mention names, but we are all open. We accept that, we don't know everything, and that's why it's great to know you read something. It's a new interpretation of something, and it takes you in a new direction, and that's what I love about the magazine. And when I get all the articles coming in, and obviously I'm forced to read them all, but
forced to read them all.
Job in the world.
It's still very humbling that people still contribute so much and offer their energy and their time into the publication. And it's, when you read through the stuff, it's just, as I say, the various routes that people take you, it's just phenomenal.
But you've worked so hard, Kenny, on that. It's you as well as the magazine that people have bought into. That's your authentic message. It's your authentic heart. You're so generous with your time and the way you create the whole magazine. It has such an amazing look about it that people can't wait to delve in. So all credit to you for that as well, because it, like we said, wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So yeah, good, well done you creating that space.
Yeah.
It's been a riotous couple of months with the One Tribe Media. That's my bread and butter. Pays the mortgage. So it's been quite heavy. But that's I've got a few big projects put to bed now, so I can get back onto what I really enjoy doing with more vigor.
So, Dawn, I have a quick question for you, since you have this gift of flow and gab. If someone were to be thinking about writing or doing a podcast or a television program or whatever it is that they were thinking about doing, what would your first two sort of pieces of advice be?
Well, I found it quite interesting that Samantha said that when she's feeling quite emotional, she just doesn't. I'm like, no, that's the perfect time to write. That's harness that power, go with it, because that's coming up for a reason. And you tend to find that yesterday, I was writing an article about some of my hate mail that I've had coming over the last few weeks. I'm like, oh, that client's doing really well. Their family's being triggered. It's like, holy moly. And it was like, how do you, and the article that I'm writing now is, are you really ready to be a coach? And it was about getting all of this emotion that was coming up in me and this awareness, because if I'd have received that hate mail, which a year or so ago, I'd have been in pieces. Whereas now it's okay, well, yeah, that's just their stuff. I know that's not true, and it just bounced off me, and I was able to come at it from a different space. So then it was like, okay, so what came up? Okay, there was emotion from them and the awareness I had of them. Then there was my growth, and how much I've moved on in this space. What is that? What else can I take from that? So it's about looking at the emotion that you've got, unleashing that into a Word document or into your journal, and then actually segmenting it and actually drawing out of it. So it's almost like you've got this beautiful stew, and then you're taking out all the ingredients that you can. So you know that you've got your carrots and your onions and your garlic, and you've got your herbs de Provence, and you've got your roast potatoes, and you've looked at the whole meal that you've got in front of you that's come up. So when you're in that space of, oh, there's all this emotion and I don't know what it is, and it's just write from that space, and then from that take the juices, and from one purging from an emotional state of mind, you can probably create about 5 or 6 pieces of work on average just from one purge, and that's something that I do work with a lot of the clients, and also because that comes once you start that practice and you start tapping into those emotions, you then clear the space. And one of the things I do, it's almost like, and it's the same with coaching, and I'm sure that you ladies will find this as well, that when you're actually going through the process of unpacking some of your clients' stuff, I like to use the toy box analogy of your kids. you know, and like, I mean, I bought both of my boys a beautiful wooden toy chest with their names in wooden letters on the front of it, so that they could then take that through life with them, because the older it gets, the more battered it is, the better it looks. And it's like, over the years, these toy boxes will be filled with all the party bag tat and all the broken Hot Wheels, and, you know, and then they've got all the toys that the aunties and the uncles and the friends that don't really know the kids, that they, you know, that'll just stay there and it'll get battered, and then you've got their favorite toys which go out over and over again, and then you've got a bit of this and you've got a bit of that. And once you start clearing out those bits, and you start getting rid of all the toys and all the broken ones and all the ones that they don't play with, and you're just left with that gold. So purging in that emotional state, you then start stepping into what I call the unconscious conscious creation stage.
Nice.
And that's when, like, it's, you know, we see these analogies, and my boy says, "Mummy, they're memes." I think they're just pictures with a coat on them, surely. And you see people digging, and then they give up just at that point, and right on that very thin slither on the other side of that is the gold that they've been looking for, the diamonds they've been looking for. And
That's
when
awesome.
we hold back on that, it's almost like we've put another layer between us and our writing. So, but I did want to pick up on something that Samantha said very quickly about the perspective when people read stuff. I remember when I was teaching out in Egypt, and I'd read a poem to my students about, if I was to describe a yellow landscape to you, or ask you to describe a yellow landscape, what would that represent to you? And every single one of them were like, death, there's no life, there's, you know, there's just empty. And I'm sitting there going, really? Just like listening to all that. Look, Arabs, a yellow landscape to them is the desert. Whereas for me, I grew up in England, in Lincolnshire, daffodils, oilseed rape, tulips. I'm thinking bugs and butterflies and plants, you know, vegetables and abundance.
Yeah.
And it's that perspective that we're tapping into when we're gifting people what we're, I mean, you can read the same article 5 years later or a week later, and like you said, Vanessa, be in a very different space to receive a very different message from it.
But I loved what you were talking about there, though, Dawn, about writing in that raw state. I totally agree with you, because a lot of us can feel very motivated in that space. But did you have that right from the word go? Because I know for me, that's something I had to practice being in. Because when I first started writing, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I had no confidence in what I was writing at all. I didn't even think it was worth anything, because how I wrote really sort of came naturally to me, and it was really a bit sort of basic. I mean, an 8-year-old child could have done better. But once I really felt safe enough to write down what was in my heart, and that it was okay, because I'd started doing that in journaling, and then when I started to publish that, it took me years to actually get to that stage. So do you think that is something that does need practice, because people are frightened of their emotions? We're not taught to listen to ourselves that way, let alone express it. So, you know, I wonder if it is something that some people like yourself maybe have naturally, you're able to do, or do you find that you do have to guide people to that space so that actually it is safe enough for you to feel this when you write and then express it with your writing?
That's a very good question, and I think that with myself personally, I have been writing from I can't remember a time I wasn't writing, either in my journal or writing. You know, the school projects we used to get, I mean, they'd be like a side of A4, and I'm like, is that all? Like, you know.
Yeah, I struggled with that. Yeah, I struggled with that.
Like, and everybody else is like, oh, like, and I've been this is why I always knew that moment when I set up dawnbates.com. I knew that it was going to be around writing, and I knew that that I was going to, once I decided that, you know, or not that I decided, the universe decided that you are actually now an author coach and that's what you're going to be, because it's not really about being how to write. It's about creating everything around it and creating that author life, and however that shows up for you. And picking up on the point you mentioned there about an 8-year-old could have done better. When you tap into that and actually write from that space and share that, you're actually encouraging those that actually go, well, actually, I feel like I'm writing like an 8-year-old, and an 8-year-old could do better. But when you share that, you're giving other people permission to share that. And if you're having a rant, you're giving someone permission to have a rant. And this is, I think this is the thing that, like you were saying, like we've all been so conditioned not to feel, you know, whether it's medicating us when we're, you know, if we're feeling sad, or we're, you know, you've got anger problems, if you get a bit fiery, and it might be your hormones, it might be the planets in alignment, it might just be the fact that everybody is asking for you instead of going, do you need help? And we've got so good at numbing our emotions with drugs and alcohol and food and shopping and Facebook and all of the other social, and when people like ourselves share from a space of heart and from a place of emotion, and we give ourselves that permission to feel and express, and I do think that it's a very powerful gift that we have.
Very much so. Yeah, I just in my experience, people do actually struggle to get to that point and even write it for themselves, let alone share it. I just wondered, in your experience, whether you found that people they naturally found it easier, or whether there was that resistance. I mean, Christine, how did you find when you started writing? Did you find it easy to connect to who you were and to actually write that, or did you have to go through little practices to get there?
Well, for me, when I started, like I've always journaled, but I more did like bullet journaling, like to-do lists and those sorts of things. There wasn't a whole lot of emotion attached to it. And when I decided that, you know, I've always wanted to be a coach and I just never was brave enough to just go and do it. And I thought, I'm just going to go and do it. And so I did it. And then I was like, well, now I have to create a way to connect with people. So I'm going to create a little bit of content on Facebook. And I remember putting my first, just like, here's a quote, and here's my take on that quote. I was freaking petrified because it was so surface. And then I was like, okay, did I really want to say that? No. Like, it was good content. It got people thinking. And then I was like, when I was really in that place of, I have so much healing to do, and there's a story to tell around that healing. And like, I wrote my first piece for Kenny, and it was really sort of more surfacey. And then I think it was probably like 5-ish months later, like I wanted to tell my story, and Kenny gave me that platform to tell my story. And I wrote it 50 times. Like, I think I wrote 50 versions of that story, and I didn't know how to tell it. I didn't know until I finally just sat in my space of being uncomfortable with everything. And that's when I wrote it. Like, I did have to practice. You're absolutely right. I had to practice. I had to do it 50 times to get to what I really wanted to say. Because otherwise it wasn't fake, but it wasn't
not familiar
from my heart. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't from my heart. It was just from my brain, and my brain messes with me because the heart is the real deal. So I had to practice. I still have to practice. And sometimes I just put stuff out there, and then I look back, I was like, look at all these errors, and then I have to go back and fix them. And I was like, is that unprofessional as a coach, as a person? I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care.
No, absolutely. Yeah. People
I don't care.
Grammar and stuff like that. I'm just like, no, please, you're missing the point. It's about the essence of the message. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was so stuck on that. Like, I wanted to be viewed as somebody who was a writer, but I'm not a writer. I don't even know what I am. I just, yes, I'm human.
Christine, I'll tell you, you're an expresser.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Pen. Brilliant. I like that.
Right. So it is. But sometimes I look at things and I was like, oh my gosh, this word is spelled wrong, and there's grammar mistakes, and I have a day job too, and I get criticized for that a lot. And so that's probably why I was like, it was in my space, like in my other life and my real passion life to be that way. And I was like, I'm going to be me. And so it is what it is. And I put it out there, and I do have to practice, but it's easier now.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
I think that it's we all have our unique ways in how we show up and express. Like for me, for example, I'm very wordy feely. I feel everything. I live on a sensorial level. So when I'm going through something very dense, I actually sit into that space to really feel where it's happening, how is it, you know what I mean? How is it flowing? Then moving that energy. So after I feel it in my body, and this for me, it's actually very healing, and this is why I write on this and I share in this way, because having complex PTSD, we usually tap out of the body, but I do everything through the body. So in allowing that, I feel safe enough to sit with, say, the devil, for example, sit with what's happening. The devil's not even bad, it's what's going on. And really fleshing that out and massaging that out in a way where it's safe, it's not traumatizing, and I can actually move the emotions through the motion so there is space and there is healing. Now, when I get ready to create a post on that or a piece on that, and most of my work, as you guys know, compared to what's into this first book, what I'm posting is very gritty. It's very tender topics. It's very vulnerable topics. And I too am still learning. This is where the second book and the poetry volumes will actually show the real grit that I want to share. But it's taking me time to be able to organize it in a way that there's a clarity. Because my intent when I'm pushing something out into the world, when I'm birthing something and sharing with the world, in my writings, you'll notice that oftentimes I'll take you're up here, I'm going to take you down. We're going to go through the grit. We're going to go down. We're going to feel all the crap. We're going to move through it. It's not bad. It's okay. But by the end of the piece, I'm going to take you back up. And you're okay. You're soothed. Because I write for people not to read, but to feel. Because I know that this is where we often get stuck. It's in the emotions, or we're afraid to get into the emotions. So it's to invite a safety. Can I even say that that's a process that I've learned anywhere? No, it probably came from my coping mechanism. And then having to learn that, okay, well, Samantha, not expressing yourself or being rigid doesn't work. But what I realized in sharing in that way is that it allows me to sit with the slowest moving part of myself. Because where I have a very fiery and fast-paced energy, it's easy to let myself get distracted from what's really going on. So by moving with the slowest part of me and observing that part, I get to really flesh out what's going on with this wound or this trigger. Even the good stuff. It's because even pleasure can be very vulnerable, right? We don't know how to express it. We don't know how to receive
Most vulnerable place.
All these things. So it is. And I mean, so I was able through that to find peace in my pain. And I'm learning that there's too pleasure in the pain, but pleasure too can be painful if we don't know how to receive. So really, I would have to say my writing and the way I show up or express it is how I feel it in the body and through my higher self, like whatever's coming through, right? Because there's sometimes someone's like channeled writing. I cannot write fast enough. I'm like, whoa, spirit, like seriously?
That's awesome.
But it's honoring. And it's honoring how we feel. And I want to share something on the writing part. And I tell this to my children because my son, my youngest, he struggles. He's dyslexic. His reading level is still very low. but we all learn when we're ready to. I really believe in that. And I honor him where he's at, and we're moving through that space. It was all French, my learning. Writing was awful. I failed every English class until I got into secondary 4. And one day I went in, we had an exam. I wasn't prepared, didn't even know I was going to have an exam. Just like that, a snap of a finger, I wrote the exam and I had 100. How did that happen? I went from failing all these years the English as a second language to all of a sudden one day doing the test, and it's almost like my brain clicked. But now here I am writing, thank God for editors. And even with the editors, I will tell you something else that I do. When they say this is, I'm like, don't change it, because it's how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Honoring your voice, right? It's honoring your voice and your way and uniqueness. And people get it. And it's like Vanessa said, if somebody's worried about the grammar, it's like, you know what? Piss off.
Right.
Seriously. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not an English teacher.
Right.
It's interesting. I actually stopped writing for something.
I would make a bad English teacher.
Not your forte. I actually stopped writing for somebody because they would rewrite what I was saying, and I just said this. I wouldn't say that. They're not the words I'd use, but it doesn't sound right. And I said, probably not to you if this isn't for you. So I actually then had to pull out of writing for them because my articles going out were not authentic, and it just didn't feel right. And that just, so there is something in that too.
Yeah.
One of the things I cover with my clients is owning your own author voice and getting rid of the grammar police. Forget that they're there. Write from soul, write from heart, because you are writing for your audience. You're writing for your message to come through in your way. And to pick up, the Scottish, here, I know that there was, we all know the film Train Spotting. I can't read that book for love nor money. I'm like, what the heck? Look how much money that film has made and how much that book has made. Yeah, there was no grammar in that. I'm sorry, I need a translator. But when we own our own voice and we own the way that we speak, I mean, I've had people message me from people that know me before they've read the books. Oh, Dawn, it was like I almost told you to shut up because I wanted to get a word in edgeways, and then I remembered I was actually reading your book and I wasn't actually listening to you. And then there have been people that have read my book and then discovered me, and they go, oh, I've had to go reread the book because now that I've heard you live or I've heard you on a podcast, I now want to go back and reread the book so that I can really take that and read the book from a very different space. So I think owning our voice, whether it's in an article or in a podcast, or in, just being real, just being ourselves, and like picking up again what you were saying, Vanessa, that when we don't feel, when we don't show up and we don't give ourselves permission, I say to a lot of my clients, we have to give ourselves permission to give ourselves permission. And we have to trust ourselves, to trust our voice, or to trust other people. And some people go, oh, Dawn, you've repeated yourself there. I went, no, I haven't. Go and reread that again.
Right. Wow.
Giving ourselves permission to giving ourselves permission to show up and have the permission to do and be and have and whatever we need to be.
Unapologetically as well. My gosh,
yes.
I would be so, once I really started to, at times, and I'm still learning, but show up as myself, I would be a bit, sorry, is it, and you'd be like, to learn how to be unapologetic takes an awful lot. And that's something I've really tried to practice over the last few years, because there's no point in showing up at yourself if you're still going to do it from a fear-based place. The two actually exist.
You'll be miserable.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not flowing, it's not harmony. But it does, again, it takes practice. And I think just because we might feel connected in ourselves or have that harmony, to then show up in that place it's another level of practice, and it's another level of, you know, not worrying. I loved what Wayne Dyer said, what you think of me is none of my business. But that takes an awful lot to actually understand what that means, but also to have the big girl or boy pants on to actually go out and show up as yourself unapologetically. And it's do you know the song that comes to mind? It's my absolute favorite, Gloria Gaynor, I Am What I Am. I am my own special creation. You know, I bang my drum, some think it's noise, I actually think it's pretty. You know, it's to actually just, you know, take the bull by the horns and just, you know, get out there.
Song then. Oh, she's going to go for it.
Another time. That's normally when I feel my energy dip, that's the song that comes on, and I'm absolutely round the island.
Mine.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah. Put that on. That's
it's allowing yourself to blossom.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Blossom. I think what you're saying there is correct. I mean, once you go over that fear of judgment, that freedom, there you can soar. I mean, it's just that's what holds us all back, isn't it? It's what are the people going to think of what we're writing, or what we're posting out there, or what we're sounding like on a podcast. It's what's somebody going to say about me? But go over that fear and just enjoy the process. Yeah.
I think that's why I love you so much, Kenny, because when I said you first contacted me when I was away on holiday in the August of 2017, and a colleague of mine, Steve Carr, you'd asked to write for your magazine, and he'd posted that he'd done it, and I was like, oh, Britt, because he's so great. And then when you messaged me, I was like, oh my God. And I went, oh no, do you know what? I don't think I can get it to you on time because I'm away on holiday. And I went to bed that night and I thought, oh, Vanessa, go with yourself. You're on holiday. You've got all time to go. You know, and I love you. You know,
it's amazing. Steve's got a lot of responsibility for this as well. He was the very first person I approached, and he did an article to me within the hour.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I have a funny I have a funny story about Steve Carr, because I started following him early on as well, and like I didn't, you know, I was pretty shy. I'm still pretty shy, and like I'd like his post and I'd comment, and then I posted something and he liked it, and like I messaged him and I was like, oh my God, you liked my post, like a total fangirl, like, oh my God, you liked my post. Thank you for liking my post. This is so amazing. And then he posted that like on Instagram or Facebook, and people are like, what, does she think you're famous or something? But it was funny, and it was, oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like totally fangirling, and then I was really embarrassed. I was like, I don't care. He's fantastic man. But yeah, that's my funny Steve story. Oh my gosh.
But you know, we can't be anybody else other than who we are, and until we really accept that,
confused enough being me.
Oh God. But you know, it's funny because we done the pre-launch promo for the D word. I watched that video after, okay, 'cause I don't know what I was thinking that day, because we didn't have I didn't realize it was going to be video. I thought it was going to be audio. I called my best friend. I'm like, did you not see my face? It moved as fast as my mouth goes. I'm very expressive. Okay, not only my emotions, my face. I was like, do I really look like that all the time? She's
you
like, yeah. I'm like, but seeing my face go live. And then I was like,
ourselves, do we? We don't. I don't know about you, but I don't make.
My face is there.
We don't watch ourselves, do we?
I cried.
I do.
No.
I've watched myself a few times, and I thought, do I really look like that? And I was like, I think I like it.
I frightened myself once.
He goes, Mommy, you're so funny. I was like, what? He goes, wow, you left your laptop open, and then I saw that you'd done a live stream. He goes, so because he'd been sat listening to me while I did it, so we sat and watched it while I'd got for a shower. He goes, you have to come and watch this, Mummy. You're hilarious. I'm like, switch that off.
Oh my gosh. So
it's different, because when I started doing recordings, I was holding my camera myself, so I could see myself. right? So I was much more tame, honestly. And then actually now I see how vivid I am. And I'm like, but that's exactly what I said. I can't be anybody other than who I am.
Yes, that's
And
awesome.
And you're
this
perfect.
is another blossoming.
Aw.
So before we were
Yeah.
like, I can't believe it's been like almost an hour. I would love it if we could just tell everyone how they can connect with you. So people who are watching the podcast, because people are going to watch this, like it's going to just take off like there's no tomorrow. And people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, who are these fantastic people and how do I get a hold of them? So, and I'll put it all in some edits with some words once I figure out how to do that. So Dawn, I know this picture that you have up here that your screen has frozen on is absolutely beautiful. And so I wish we could have a video of you, and we're going to do it again, I'm sure, because this was fantastic. Tell us how to get a hold of you. No, it's just a picture, hon.
Oh.
You get to see your facial expressions.
I've been pulling them, would you? Oh.
It's a beautiful picture. Whatever the gods wanted to screenshot you, they screenshot it fantastic.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, whoever you are. I'll hire you when I get to Chile.
So share with everyone how they can follow you, get a hold of you, work with you, and all those fantastic things.
If they go to dawnbates.com, then they'll find links to all my social media, like Instagram, Twitter, Bookface, LinkedIn. Bookface is Facebook.
Let's start a new one. Let's call Bookface.
Yeah.
Can you get that launched?
Look out, Mark.
It's really appropriate because book, we're writing, we're expressing your face, Bookface.
Absolutely.
It's a thing. It's a stretch, I know.
Mindfulness in everything I do. Might take a few people to catch up, but I know what I'm talking about most of the time. But yeah, dawnbates.com is probably the best place because, like I say, they can just then tag on to any of my social media there.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
Bates, as in Norman and Kathy, I'm just not quite a psycho.
No. And my mother's maiden name is Bates, so I love it.
Yeah.
Connection somewhere along the lines, maybe.
Sorry to quickly just drop this in. I found out, Samantha, you'll be able to clarify or deny this, no pressure. But Bates in French is bateau, which also means boat. And I'm sailing around the world. Like, is that right?
Yeah, in French is bateau, but bateau is B-A-T-E-A-U.
Which is water, which is even better.
Water is, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A-U, yeah.
I think our own library there, our own dictionary going on there.
Oh my gosh. Vanessa, tell us where people can follow you, work with you, connect with you.
Yeah, well, trustvanessa.com. My website is in maintenance at the moment. It's just being built. But social media mainly will be Vanessa Louise Birt. So you can find on any of the, follow me that way.
Awesome. And Kenny?
On most of the social media, it's One Tribe Magazine. And we've also got onetribemagazine.com, which the news site should be finished in a few weeks.
Sweet. I'm excited for that. That'll be really fantastic. And Samantha, my lovely.
You can find me on Facebook under Beautiful Disaster. That's where you can connect, you can message, or the best way would be my website, which is my name, Samantha Caroline Lavallée, and there you'll have access if you want to subscribe or if you want to send a message, or that would be the best way to reach me.
Stalk you.
What was that?
What was that, Dawn?
We're going to stalk you.
That's why we have block.
Oh, don't get blocked.
Last couple of weeks.
Oh, because there's some silly people in the world, right? God loves them.
Yep. Yep, I've had to do that too. So, and my Instagram is at Follow Your Whole Heart, and on social media, Christine Saunders. And then my webpage is also followyourwholeheart.com. And wow, I can't believe it's been an hour. This has been fantastic. My first official podcast. I have a couple out there, like the radio show was a podcast. It's like the prequel, I guess. Let's just say it's the prequel. And this is season 1, episode 1, with all of these fantastic One Tribe members of mine. And after the show, I know I got a little emotional, and this is also evoking a little emotion. I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
congratulations, Christine.
Yeah, big
What a beautiful
congratulations.
transition. So happy to be able to transition with you. Like, you do everything with your whole heart.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was not. It was an easy decision, but kind of not an easy decision. Just because there was like that piece of like being on the radio kind of set me apart from people. And then I was like, but do I really want to be set apart with that? And the answer was no. And so it was like, that was the easy decision. Like, that's not what I want to set me apart. So not that I need to be set apart, if that makes sense, but anyway. I'll get this edited, and we'll see how it goes. And if anybody knows how to take video to audio, that would be fantastic. We'll figure it out. It's not hard. I just have to have time. So, but anyway, I appreciate all of you taking this hour and sharing this space with me.
Thank you so much for making it possible.
Thank you.
Yes, and Dawn, please be safe in your travels. Can't wait to hear about it. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
God bless you. Yeah. And thanks again, Kenny, for bringing us all together.
Well, thank you guys for making One Tribe what it is.